I have been sharing the Enlightenment Transmission for over 17 years. In fact, since the day that I became enlightened on the 19th of June in the year 2000. We could liken the Enlightenment Transmission to an energy field that intelligently guides human spiritual development. The Enlightenment Transmission is all that you need to become enlightened. Enlightenment, in plain English, means to know yourself and to express it. That's my definition, at least. Therefore, those who are becoming enlightened are discovering their true self and becoming true to their life purpose. Communion with the Enlightenment Transmission is a real-time, interactive, palpable process that does not and should not involve belief, ritual, or techniques. The Enlightenment Transmission is available everywhere and all of the time. I support spiritual seekers to make a full and permanent connection with the Enlightenment Transmission. When one has a full and permanent connection with the Enlightenment Transmission, then one has also a full and permanent connection with one's true self. One characteristic of enlightenment is that all identification with being a spiritual seeker, spiritual concepts, and techniques disappear. Until the moment of my enlightenment, I had been a non-stop seeker, seeking to become enlightened for nearly 30 years. After enlightenment, my experience of life and myself was radically changed. In fact, I could not remember what it was like to have been me before enlightenment. 2 years before I became enlightened, I started to loudly question whether enlightenment truly existed. I had noticed that various spiritual teachers and gurus seemed to have very different ideas and definitions about enlightenment. In many cases, they were not open to being questioned, and so it was not possible to arrive at any true assessment of their claims. After I became enlightened, I of course knew that enlightenment existed. Since I had publicly doubted the existence of enlightenment, I felt responsible to put the record straight and announce that not only does enlightenment exist, but it is easily accessible and available. I not only made that claim, but stated that I could prove it. I invited others to test my enlightenment, saying that I would either lose my enlightenment and return back to my everyday life, or that they would lose their stuff and become enlightened. I considered it an excellent deal for them. I was prepared to lose everything if my enlightenment was not real, and I was prepared to lose everything if I could not share that enlightenment. And so I started to share enlightenment with these 4 very clear knowings. 1, that I was enlightenment. 2, that the enlightenment was permanent. 3, that others could become enlightened. 2, and 4, that I could take others into the space of the enlightenment experience. I started to share this enlightenment experience informally. I saw no reason to use rituals, props, or paraphernalia that other teachers were using. My reasoning was that enlightenment does not need to be dressed up and that such decorations are distracting. For far too long, enlightenment has been portrayed, erroneously in my opinion, as something otherworldly, far away, and virtually impossible to attain. My view was that enlightenment is right here, in the midst of everyday life, and that you do not need to journey far and wide or do impossible techniques for decades on end to attain it. I was in a hurry to share enlightenment because you can meet someone and in the next breath, one of you could be dead. My sense was that life is precious and that everyone deserves to enjoy enlightenment. Eventually, the informal meetings, by some weird series of coincidences, became formal meetings open to the general public. Anyone could walk in off the street, and they did. Now my claim to be enlightened was getting the work out that I had been looking for. Interestingly, members of the audience were having profound, spontaneous awakenings. In many cases, people were having extrasensory and psychedelic type experiences. People reported seeing lights around me, seeing my physical form change, and even become translucent and disappear. I did not know about all of these experiences at first, and I never spoke about these things for many years. Even to this day, there are still many phenomena that I do not openly talk about in public, mainly because this information would be distracting if you have not experienced the phenomena yourself. However, I have recently decided that the full nature and experience of the Enlightenment transmission should be revealed, otherwise the spiritual seeking community will be missing out on a true gift. A gift that I really don't have the right to keep quiet about. I am like a custodian of the Enlightenment transmission. My role is to share the Enlightenment transmission and also to preserve the integrity of the Enlightenment transmission community. In my observation, spiritual communities have often been ruined by envy, competition, money, corruption, ego, and imitation. The Enlightenment transmission and those who have regular communion with the Enlightenment transmission are precious, and I have long sought to protect their peace of mind and privacy. The Enlightenment transmission has an extremely powerful effect upon a person's psyche and body. I chose to work only with those who could responsibly handle and manage the powerful effects of the Enlightenment transmission. Clearly, over those years, I had gone from sharing enlightenment with everyone and all comers to becoming quite selective. However, the good news is that I am seeking to make the Enlightenment transmission more available to more people again. I have a vision that in 200 years from now, Enlightenment transmission will be known to and available to everyone. Contact with the Enlightenment transmission is palpable, direct, and effortless. The experience is typically pleasurable, deeply relaxing, and detoxifying. The true results are unimaginably profound and difficult to quickly describe in words. But briefly stated, one is able to access and experience all parts of one's being and nature, as well as dimensions and non-physical realms that appear to be happening somewhere else other than here in the physical world. These experiences are not common knowledge within our present society, and yet ironically they are your birthright and part of your true essence. Just a short note on the word enlightenment. Only in the last 90 years apparently has the word enlightenment been associated with the ultimate attainment of various Eastern spiritual traditions such as Buddhism and Hinduism. Enlightenment is in fact an English word that for over 400 years was synonymous with the Latin concept for illumination. I became acquainted with yoga and yogic breathing and meditation practice and philosophy as a young child, and thus acquired the idea that enlightenment was the goal of my life. I did not know what it meant, I only knew that I was seeking for something. After I became enlightened, the concept of enlightenment made full sense to me. I was surprised nonetheless that I chose that word, but I could not think of a better word then or now after 17 years of continuous enlightenment. If you have not completed your spiritual journey, or that you feel that the Enlightenment transmission or myself have something to offer you, then feel free to contact me. Because of the wonders of the internet, we can now meet face to face online without having to travel anywhere. You can contact me in a number of ways, one of which is to use the contact form on my personal website, www.daveoshana.com. I look forward to meeting the real you.